And here we go. All right, what up, what up, what up? Man, whew, been too long since I did the last one. I gotta be a lot more proactive with this thing if I really want to keep people interested. Honestly, I appreciate the few people that keep checking me out. Spread my lane, man. Spread it. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what you want to talk about. Getting some good suggestions from one of my family members. Appreciate you, Zeus. But man, whew, there is some moves going on in the NFL. Honestly, today I just want to talk about whatever. A little bit of NFL, a little bit of NBA, some baseball stuff. I'm ready to get going. Um, man, I'm excited. I really, really, really am. Um, one of my shorts for the UFC last week hit 1,000 views. Oh my god! I was like, oh, I got 1,000 views, but I don't have 1,000 subscribers. The fuck? Come on, man, help me out. Anyways, man. So first thing I want to talk about is gonna be the hottest take that I absolutely know that I've already started getting tagged in it from some friends. Appreciate you, twins. Um, Jimmy G to the Raiders. Jimmy G to the Raiders. You know what? This morning was kind of one of those uh days. I don't know because the 15th was a huge day or huge deadline for the NFL. I figured a lot of moves were gonna start speeding up, especially with the draft coming up and everything, right? So first thing I saw this morning, Jarrett Stidham going to the Denver Ponies or whatever they call themselves nowadays. Good riddance, man. I don't care. I really don't. I really don't. I don't know how many times I got asked towards the end of the season, hey man, what you think about Derek Carr and getting benched and Jarrett Stidham looked pretty good against the Niners, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. You know what? Don't care. I don't. Is Jarrett Stidham really a household name? Hell no. Is he going to go to Denver and compete for a starting job? Hell no. I mean, unless Sean Payton is that bothered by Russell, which I doubt because they paid that dude buku's money. Um, Jarrett Stidham ain't starting over there. He wasn't going to start on the Raiders. I have to think that somewhere along the lines he got told that, hey man, you filled in well the last two games of the season. Um, the chips were stacked against you playing the Niners and the Chiefs. You looked okay, and then the Chiefs just mollywopped my Raiders, and that was not cool. The disrespect was real in that game, and I was very upset. Next Chiefs fan I see. Just kidding. But no, for real, I didn't. I wasn't like looking forward to a Jarrett Stidham, man. I really wasn't trying to convince myself otherwise. And anybody that's close to me that's actually had the opportunity to ask me that question to myself to my face of saying, hey, he looked good against the Niners. Cool. Again, flukes happen all the time. I mean, I'm not saying the dude doesn't have or possess any type of skill. Maybe he does. Um, but he was back up on the Patriots for a reason. He's was brought in to compete for a backup job last year for Derek. He never had an opportunity. There was never a chance that he was going to um, outshine Derek in any type of practice to where you're saying overall well-rounded skilledness. Jarrett Stidham has it over Derek Carr. There's absolutely no way. There's no way. At the last two games of the season, again, they were only content with that because the relationship that they had, in the whole Patriots organization and whatnot before. But good for him, man. Good for him and great for the Raiders organization. We're not sitting here thinking, man, what could have been with Jarrett Stidham? Nothing. Nothing. Let me just be real. Absolutely nothing. So good riddance. But the signing of Jimmy G. So that was one that I had kind of, again, people close to me having discussions had kind of seen that thing, right? You heard about A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers for a little while, being in the topic of discussion. But man, he's owed so much money next year. His contract is really really big. Um, didn't really see the Raiders looking for that guy. I mean, unless they were able to get everybody else that they needed, which franchise tag with Josh Jacobs was huge. I mean, he had to come back. Um, just recently, Max Crosby restructured his contract, creating I think the number was $7.5 million. The Raiders having nearly $50 million to spend this free agency offseason. So I mean, the number was climbing up, right? And it made you start to think, could a an offer for Lamar Jackson be on the table? Could an offer for Aaron Rodgers be on the table? Um, Neither one of those really panned out, and I honestly don't feel like the team took a significant step back in signing a Jimmy G for less money than they would have been paying for Derek Carr. Um, I personally would have liked to think that if Derek would have attempted to restructure his deal, that it would have just been easier to keep him, cheaper to keep him. But no, man, like he was clearly in the mindset. Whatever happened in the organization, and I'm not even gonna read into it. There's been some stories that have come out recently about the drama of the front office with Mr. Davis, Derek Carr, the front office, Ziegler, and all those other guys. I don't really care, man. It's like, are we really gonna get the real deal, right? You're gonna hear so many different perspectives from so many like league executives or so many players in the locker room, but you're never gonna see names printed on it and stuff. And I'm the type of person, look, if I'm not talking to them directly, I mean, stats are the only thing we as fans could really go off of. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know what I heard? I didn't talk to Ziegler, man. I didn't talk to Derek Carr. I did tweet him and he didn't message me back. That's messed up. But it, it, without hearing it directly from the horse's mouth, you're not going to know what the specific fine details are, right? So that being said, the created cap that the Raiders made for themselves, it's a lot of spending money. To spend some of that to still get, I would like to say, the same quality type quarterback in Jimmy G, but somebody familiar with McDaniel's offense. It could play out. Everybody questions the healthiness or the health of Jimmy G. And to be honest with you, that's every Raiders fan's concern. We are all going to be concerned, period, and I say we just, again, Raider Nation, are all going to be concerned with his health. If we can keep him on the field and he can do what he did, I mean, with the weapons, Debo and others, Ayuk, that he had, he was successful with the Niners. It was just he couldn't stay on the field, man. A little bang up here, a little bang up there. Um, Gutsy enough to get out of the pocket. I would think a little more sure-handed as far as like getting out of from beyond the line, getting out on open field running. I'd rather him not do that again, being that he has kind of like bad knees, bad ankles, and whatnot. But it's going to be interesting to see somebody familiar with the offense that it didn't quite seem that Derek was kind of comfortable with, and if this is the direction the Raiders are gonna go with keeping McDaniel's and kind of building around um, his sort of offense. Still got Devontae, still got Josh Jacobs, right? Two of the best players in the league, um, leading running back and leading number three receiver, but in my opinion, still the best receiver in the league. So um, it's going to be interesting. You have the pieces, right? You just have to get them there. Now, what they do with the number 7 draft pick, that's going to be super freaking big. But I'm not even going to talk too much about the draft besides the number 1 overall draft pick, right? So let's switch gears to that. That trade is and could be huge. Huge. My only issue, well, not well, one a big issue, I should say, that the Carolina Panthers have now being in that number 1 spot is, um, man, quarterbacks number 1 overall. It's not always that they pan out, right? So it's like, do you take the chance and draft somebody? We always talk about the aftermath of the draft, right? Hindsight is always 2020. After we talk about a draft, after we get into the season a little bit, there's always the discussion of if we redrafted, today, right? Sauce Gardner from the Jets, phenomenal kid, man. Like, rookie season, already one of my favorite DBs because the kid he can cover like crazy. The kid's nasty. So to have that type of skill, and I mean, he wasn't a top 3 draft pick, but I mean, would we consider that? I mean, DBs don't go that high typically, but that's crazy, man. This kid is nuts. He'd go a lot higher than he did. Um, so having the number 1 overall draft pick, it's cool and all, right? It's storied, it's glamorized, it's all that jazz. I got asked by the barber over here, and he said, well, why would they do that? Why would the Bears trade out of the number 1? Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Their needs are not number 1 quality, number 1 type pay needs, right? You don't have a solidified D lineman or O lineman that's just absolute. I gotta take this dude, and he's a must number one overall draft pick. There's not that. These quarterbacks coming out are that. Those quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud and oh boy from Bama, they're the ones coming out that everybody's talking about, right? So with those guys being the top of the list, the solidified number ones or arguable number ones, there's no question. So the Bears trading down and getting additional assets and stuff, um, it was it was good for them. They already have their quarterback. Justin Fields is a stud. Uh, do do I feel like that offense is kind of built for his type of skill play? Not necessarily. Um, just you think historically the Bears are really like hard nosed, right? Walter Payton going all the way back. They're a running team. They've always been that way. They've done a carousel of head coaches every now and again, and they've still attempted to have sort of that stronger running game offensive mindset, and yet you know the last few years they really haven't done it, or they've fallen short. Um, they have pieces, but I mean, the first year that they had Khalil Mack, man, it's just like holy crap. They have one of the best defenses, and they did. They really did. But to have a mediocre slash bottom half type offense, they really didn't get a chance to go anywhere. Um, which is honestly why I think that they eventually saw the need to move Khalil and trading him to the Chargers and whatnot. So all that played out afterwards. But the Panthers are one of those like black hole type franchises for quarterbacks. Um, Aside from Cam Newton, I mean, I'm not the best and most educated when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, but I honestly can't tell you right now, right off the top of my head, like, oh, that was a good draft pick. Like, they try to get these guys in, they trade for some, they draft some, they pick some guys up on free agency, and nobody pans out. I mean, is it the offense? Is it the coaching? Is it the franchise? Like, what is it really? Hell, is it the turf? Like the type of grass they're fucking using or something? I don't know. I'm just saying, quarterbacks go over there, haven't had a lot of success. Three quarterbacks started last year, and an XFL, a CFL or XFL quarterback was the one that I don't know looked the most comfortable in that offense. It's hard. It's almost hard to say like is the offense still built for a style of play like a Cam Newton? If that is the case, then these guys coming out might be it, right? Florida QB, Bama QB, Ohio State QB, all mobile. Um, but with all that being said, and I don't want to like detour too much away from the draft, but all that being said, all eyes are on the Lamar Jackson situation. All right, switching gears to that whole like organizational issue is so frustrating as a fan. Um, I'm not saying that I'm a fan of Lamar. I'm not saying, oh my God, this dude's, the best thing since sliced bread. But he's an MVP. He has been successful and put up numbers like other MVP quarterbacks and has won the award. But you have guys like Daniel Jones getting $40 million a year. I don't know about that one, man. Why? Um, I don't want to speak to it, being like racially motivated, right? I don't want to assume so much that it's gonna like uh sort of be like a scapegoat type conversation. But I mean, you almost start to feel that way because is there just not that much faith in these guys that are so much more mobile? It's not to say Lamar's not putting up passing numbers, right? The dude's put up passing numbers too. It's not as if 100% of his yards are with his legs. He's a skilled quarterback. There's a reason why he's been a league MVP against the likes of, an Aaron Rodgers and a Tom Brady. he's won the award. Um, his injuries are always going to come into question, but man, some of his injuries, and I'm not talking about the sliding, right? I'm always like screaming at my TV on Sundays, freaking slide, bro. To a lot of quarterbacks because again, when the guys don't go down, they're just setting themselves up for to just get like laid out for what? Why? Is it really worth it? Is that extra 1 yard? I'm not saying if it's like freaking wild card weekend or Super Bowl Sunday and these guys are like out trying to extend for an extra yard. I'm not talking about that. Those are big games. Those are completely different. I'm talking about week 2 when the season still has to formulate. The season still has to kind of like happen, right? But these guys are going for that extra yard. Again, I'm not even talking about last minute of the game type drives. Rivalry games, all right, I get it. But yes, having the ball in your skill maker's hand is so important. You know, Lamar, or your tight end, your wide receiver, your running back. I get all of that, but a quarterback is paid to throw the rock. Lamar is looking to get paid because he can throw the rock, but he can also run the rock. Yet he and Jalen Hurts are the ones that are still kind of, you know, worried about contract extensions and stuff like that. So it's kind of it's weird. It's really weird. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those executive meetings just to ask, be like, or just to be able to hear, openly, um, the discussions that get had about these guys to have a better opinion on what the mindset is for like some of these teams. You want to think like that they have either the player or the franchise direction is what they have in mind, but if the Baltimore Ravens are that convinced that Lamar is not their guy for the future, why dangle him like that? Why franchise tag this man? And as soon as I seen that he was franchise tagged, to be honest with you, my first thought was, man, another team can go in and give him $1 short of what that freaking franchise tag is, and I guarantee you he'd be like, look, if there's a potential for a second and third year sometime throughout this year, and there was a discussion that was had that potentially had him kind of considering it, man, that dude would be gone, especially in the right situation. That's why Aaron Rodgers is open to the Jets. It's not set in stone yet, but that's why he's open to it. They're already talking to him. This man's about to be 38 years old, and they're still talking about giving him a nice contract. He's on the books for 50 milli for the next 2 years. But Lamar, I mean, shit, I would have said like Miami, Jets, Raiders. He could have been on the move to a lot of different teams and immediately made those teams better. And like I said, I could have absolutely thought to myself that if any team would have offered the same exact type of contract money, but even stretched it to 2 years, Lamar would be like, peace. Later, suckers. Um, I don't know. His situation's a weird one, man. It really is. Okay. So, um, talking about the quarterbacks, the drafted the quarterbacks in the draft. I'm sorry, like scatterbrain now. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, all interesting dudes. Anthony Richardson has proved himself to be a athletic, borderline freak of nature. Kid is fast, strong, big. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see where these guys land. Um, Again, I wasn't going to involve too much of the draft, but I mean, Bryce Young and CJ are the top two that are being talked about. So it's going to be interesting again, and I mentioned it earlier what Carolina does with that pick. I have very strong opinions when it comes to quarterbacks coming out, and that's just me personally because, again, so many times in history, oftentimes we discuss these guys coming out of college, going to the pros, and a lot of times they don't really make of something, right? You have a guys coming from schools like Wyoming, right? Josh Allen, he's amazing. Wyoming, I mean, yes, he was one of the best quarterbacks coming out, but I mean, he wasn't as glamorized, notarized. You know what I mean? Like he had a very good opportunity. Um, but then you have other guys in history, and man, anytime college quarterbacks get brought up, it's like I always bring up the freaking USC quarterbacks. I hate USC quarterbacks. Butt fumble Mark Sanchez. I mean, Carson Palmer was okay. I mean, some bad situations and a nasty hit kind of like messed him up for his career. Um, I just don't like him. USC, if there's USC attached to it, nah, man, not for me, bit out. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting draft, and I'm looking forward to it already, really, really. So again, I said I was gonna discuss some other stuff. I want to talk about some NBA stuff for real. The NBA season, man, I cannot stop looking and stop checking out the standings every freaking day on the West. There's somebody that's moving because the race is so tight, right? You have all the way down to number 13 New Orleans at 33 wins, all the way up to number 9 33 wins, number 8 7 Dallas Minnesota 34 wins, up to 6 5 35 36 wins. The race is really freaking tight. Um, it's gonna get interesting down the wire because you have again these new faces with new franchises kind of getting their feet wet. They're coming in hot. Uh, Kyrie is scoring like a madman with the Mavericks. Has it equated to all wins? No, not necessarily. Teams are kind of figuring them out too. But and then you have a well-oiled machine on one side, a team that's played up to this point, their 60 70 games or whatever up to this point together, and then you have on the other side a team that's again still sort of trying to figure out the offensive schemes and things like that. I mentioned it before on a different one of the podcast episodes that um in the situation of Kyrie and Luca playing together, again, it's still one of those things. I see that they're both scoring. I see they're both getting stats, but it's just like at what cost, right? Since they're both ball handlers, playmakers, at what cost? At some point where one has to give a little bit to the other. Um, Kyrie, I mean, shoot, I don't even know. I couldn't even call which one's more of a pure shooter. Um, Kyrie, I has better handles, crossover. He says wicked, wicked. Um, but Luca's just that assassin from deep, right? And he's just throwing the freaking half court threes and stuff like that. So, um, they both can shoot. They both can ball handle. They both can pass. I think Luca's got the edge on passing, but they're still trying to figure it out. So, seeing them on like the verge right there, is still interesting. Like I said, the race is really tight. I was a little upset with the Spurs beating the Nuggets. I am not gonna lie. How are you gonna tank? How are you in a tank season and you beat the number one team in the conference? See this face? Man, I'm not saying make it look obvious. I'm not even saying don't try. Don't put together your best game of the season at the end of a tanking season. It don't make sense. It really doesn't. Honestly. Stop it. Just pop, just keep changing it up, get him situated, right? Get the franchise situated. Hopefully he doesn't go too far from the team. Hopefully he still stays involved. Hopefully his retirement or his sayonara isn't something necessarily to cut away from the team entirely because I don't know if my heart can take it. It's bad enough that we had as fans of the Spurs we were so spoiled with 50 win seasons. Honestly, it's like seeing the comments and shit that people do on the Spurs fan pages. It's funny because it's like everyone's so hurt, and I've gotten tastes of it from other teams, other you know fan bases of teams that I like to watch myself, where my team hasn't, historically just been on this good run, right? Um, but to be a spoiled fan, especially a Spurs spoiled fan, is from what I'm gathering, is you had years and years and years of expected success, right? You look at the roster, you see, way back when, Tim Duncan, David, Avery, Tony, shit, Antonio Daniels, Ellis. You see these guys, and then it, kind of switch gears to Bruce Bowen, Manu Ginobili, and these other cats, and you're just like, we got a squad, 50 wins, let's go. Um, it was gonna happen. The playoffs were gonna happen. So a lot of fans they stopped really watching every game because it was like, winning 50 every year is, winning 2 out of 3 games. So it's like if you caught a game, the likelihood of you catching a win was high, man. I mean, simple math is 2/3 winning 2/3 of the game, so every 2 out of 3. So it was, and then going on some streaks. I remember the Spurs, as a kid going on like 10, 15 win type streaks. Come on, how can you not become spoiled when you're just like, it was like 5 teams at the top of the West. Those 5, if the Spurs are playing one of those 5, we got a game on our hands, right? If they were playing the bottom of the league, man, come on. Tim Duncan was just like, all right, I'm gonna play 2.5 quarters, wreck these dudes. Manu's gonna come in off the bench, tear these dudes a new one, and then the bench play was just superb, right? Had a very, very deep bench that it was almost everybody coming in. It was just historic. So as a Spurs fan, again, we got so spoiled of watching these games that in the last few years, when it's kind of gotten tighter, competition's gotten tighter, um, and the Spurs have had to really earn their keep, even with the LaMarcus Aldridge, with our Kawhi, LaMarcus, and then DeMar DeRozan. Even with those guys, we were now tuned in. We were tuned in. Why? Because we were like, all right, are they going to win 50 now? It's not an expectation. Are we going to even make the first round of the playoffs? It wasn't a given. It was for so long, but now it's not. And now it hurts our souls. Now we're just like, God, dog, are we ever going to win? You know? So drafting is going to stay as important now than ever. Free agent moves, again, San Antonio being a super small market, it's not one of those places that everybody's just like, oh man, you know where you should go play? San Antonio. Fuck do we got, man? Charles Barkley calls it what, a trash river or something like that, man. Charles ain't shit, but I'm just saying, what do we got to offer? When you got teams like the 2 LA teams, you got, New York, Brooklyn, you got these superstars that are playing elsewhere. Spurs not having that superstar, we never really had to rely on free agency to bring in a superstar. Because again, being spoiled over time and just drafting so freaking well, and having a cornerstone, a centerpiece like Tim Duncan, the team came to him. That's why Steven Jackson came back a second time. He was like, shit, Tim Duncan's a man, dude. That's the GOAT. So again, spoiled for so long that we got guys like DeJounte Murray, which us as fans were like sold on. He wanted to bounce. So again, it is what it is. The Jakob Poeltl trade, I completely understand. Not surprised, with the Raptors needing, like that big man, that big piece, to fit in the middle, especially with teams like Milwaukee and Brooklyn and stuff for the playoff runs. I get it. But hopefully we don't stay down too long, man. Because like I said, I know, again, as a spoiled Spurs fan, 5 championships, all that jazz, hurts my soul to see my team kind of in the rut like that. But the other teams, man, the Lakers, every media outlet discusses the Lakers constantly. It's gonna be interesting to see, man. They having no LeBron, being able to put some stuff together. These new guys, man, they're going crazy. Vanderbilt's still defensive nuts. Like that dude's nuts, man. Really is. Um, D'Lo, I think I saw a stat saying that the Lakers had the best defensive efficiency since the trade for those 3 guys. Um, That's cool, man. Good for them. I mean, again, I say it over and over again as a Bron fan. Do I want the Lakers to make a good run? Yeah, of course. Um, although the GOAT conversation always turns ugly, and although fans know that their little living legend struggled badly to get out of the first round without other players, Scottie Pippen. They don't talk about that because it was at the beginning of his career. Oh, that was irrelevant. That was before we had a team. Man, shut up. Um, LeBron doing it towards the end of his career, everybody's gonna have that stuff as a discussion. Oh, but Jordan did it. Man, shut up. The Wizards were ass with Michael. Ass. I want anybody to come debate me. Just bring facts. Don't bring silliness. Don't bring. But Michael, he admitted he was bald first. Man, get out of here with that stuff. I don't care. I really don't. But LeBron doing, missing the playoffs and stuff towards the end of his career, I feel like that's just going to give more fuel to the fire. Argument, GOAT status, even though I think it's already solidified, people are going to discuss it anyways. Whatever. Um, Denver is beatable. I said it. Denver does not look like the team that is going to pulling some stats back up. Denver does not look like the team that is going to run the table. I don't know or can't say that anybody's too afraid of any team on the West. Golden State cannot win a game away to save their freaking life. I'm looking at the stats right now. 7-26 away from home. Damn. Damn. That's crazy. I didn't even know that until right now. And then the Spurs are 6-27. God, they're worse. Whatever. Uh, that's crazy. 7-26, but they're freaking sixth in the playoff run. They can't win a game away. So you know what I mean? They're beatable. Do they have the most championship experience? Yes, they have the championship experience. Um, but Denver doesn't scare anybody. Uh, Jokic is a monster, beast. Love the dude. Most skilled big man. I mean, him and Giannis. It's them and pretty much everybody else. If it's not them two, you throw Luka in the mix as far as like a best player in the NBA like right now. Um, but it's really tough to be able to just be like, yeah, like Denver's running away, they're smacking everybody because the Spurs just beat them. Sacramento, man, they're really freaking young. That's my only thing is that team is just so young. Memphis, they piss me off. Dylan Brooks is annoying. Honestly, he's like a wannabe Patrick Beverly, where he's annoying, fouls a lot, ah, just just bumps his gums. Like the kid's just annoying. Ja, I mean, whatever legal stuff he's going through and all that stuff. Honestly, he's still one of my favorite like right now players. But I mean, whatever situation he's in and whatever legal stuff, hopefully it all kind of works out. He's just got to stop going to freaking strip clubs and dropping 50 G's and stop posting guns on media. That's something that you can't instill in these kids nowadays. And I say these kids because I'm becoming an OG baby. Yeah, you can't do stupid shit just because you're rich. It doesn't matter color, appearance. I don't give a damn who it is. Don't do stupid shit. Stupid shit, especially when it comes to legal matters, will mess you up. John Moran's learning that very, very, very quickly. Have other NBA athletes done the same? Yes. Have they recovered? Yes. Hopefully, Ja's got the same mental psyche that some of these other guys have that he can come back from it, right? But again, Memphis, beatable. Phoenix, I mean, KD gets hot, KD gets on a tear, Booker gets on a tear at the same time. Sheesh. We talking Phoenix in the finals, but again, I always talk about the defensive liability they all bring. They're not the strongest defensively, and it looks as if they don't score lately, 125. I mean, they legitimately have to outscore their opponents. They're not holding their opponents to anything. The Hornets, but I mean the Hornets to 91, but everybody else is scoring over 100. So I mean hell, they had to score 130 points to beat the Mavericks. So without defense, it's tough. They legitimately have to outscore, and that's why I say if KD and Booker both get hot at the same time, CP3 stays healthy, he's the dish man. These dudes going off. I mean, they got a shot because both of them can score 30 plus and then some. Um, they have the team to potentially outscore anybody. The Clippers, man, they just got stuff to figure out. Like it clearly looks like they want to have the ball um in Russ's hands, and that's cool. It really is. And I think on one of my other ones, I brought up the defense. So the defense is gonna stay important. They're the team that's equipped to play against these other teams based on defense, defensively. They can their defensive minded guys score? Absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, if they cannot hold their own, which again with the multiple defenders they have on the team, I think they can. Um, that's got to be their sole focus. Looking at just the stats from them playing against the Knicks and beating the Knicks 106 to 95. Russ not shooting the ball. Russ shot the ball 8 times, made 3, 7 points. Played 23 minutes. They had a good rotation clearly, with the minutes, you know, shared minutes or whatever. You have Morris, Leonard, Paul George having the most minutes. I mean, that's where they gotta be. They're a long defensive team. So again, if defense is their focus, they got a shot. If they're having to outscore teams, as they did against the Memphis Grizzlies, 135 to 129, if they got to do that every time, it's not gonna happen. It's the same thing that happened in Russ's first game. Whenever it was like 100 and like 96,000 to 195,000. They lost the game to the Kings because again, if they have to just simply outscore the other team, can't see it happening all the time. So the Clippers scare nobody. Golden State, again, I already said it. Without home court, man, how can you even give them the benefit of the doubt to go in somewhere else, 2 series back to back in like the conference, the quarterfinals, if you will, and then the conference finals, going into a series having to be the away team, and then going into the finals and being the away team, not having home court advantage for 3 straight rounds, and having such a horrendous away record on paper. Again, don't scare anybody. Minnesota, Dallas, Utah, OKC. Shy is crazy. OKC, um, SGA, man, until this year, I wouldn't have said the dude was baller, but man, that kid's crazy. They got a piece in that kid if they are able to, I mean, build around. Yeah, kid's a stud. I'm not gonna go too much in there because I got a lot of OKC fans, and honestly, I hate y'all. So that's all y'all get. And then the Lakers, of course, having LeBron out, even having him in, I mean, their record isn't anything that's gonna like scare anybody, right? On the other side, so um, it's looking like it may potentially be one of those years where it's gonna be an Eastern Conference championship. Milwaukee is Milwaukee. Boston is Boston. Boston is solid. Tatum and Brown. I think the last few years they're just those guys. And Marcus Smart uh, is good. Like I like the dude defensively. He's a dog, man. So they got a good squad. Philly. I mean Embiid, Harden. They got a squad. Cleveland, Spider. Love the dude. Donovan Mitchell. Um, I mean they have there's some studs in the freaking in the East, man. For real, for real. So, man, I'm just looking at stats here, y'all. Uh, Brooklyn, New York. I mean, the top six in the East. Although the Knicks just lost to the Clippers, Top six in the East are scary. Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Cleveland, Brooklyn, New York. Um, all winning records. All but Cleveland have a winning record in a way. So I mean, they can play at home, they can play away. So that tells me a lot. Coming down to it, I think it's like somewhere between 12 and 14 games left. It's going to be interesting because the races are so tight. You know, the top three in the East and then like the bottom five, six in the West. There's going to be a lot of movement. So hopefully I'll be able to do another like NBA one or with the keep with these shows so that way I'm able to stay up with everything that's going on and keeping up to date with the stats and the movement of the standing and stuff. You know what I mean? So we'll go from there. Last time I end this with some baseball stuff, man. So baseball preseason's kicked off, and as many people don't watch baseball, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on it and stuff because I do want to discuss baseball, and even get back to some UFC stuff because the UFC fight cards coming up are still some big ones. Um, I'm just gonna talk about my squad. So what? I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm gonna get hated on because my teams are all over. And looking at today's preseason game or spring training game, Toronto is stomping all over the Red Sox 15-3. Before this, that being said, the Red Sox are 9-3 in spring training and they look good. Um Batting is nice and even, pitching is going well, scores are staying low, not going crazy again besides this game. Um I'm excited for the season because last season sucked so freaking bad that I just want a glimpse of hope. I want progress in a good direction. And even if it's just on the outside of the playoffs, hopefully it's not on the outside looking in. There's so many freaking games. They just got to stay tight within the race, right? Going 20-30 back from the freaking playoff run was just, I don't want to talk about it. Just kidding. Um, yeah, when they went on a hot streak, about 30, 40 games in last year, and I think took over the division for a very, very short period of time after starting really bad, went on a nice hot streak. Either we're like tied for the division or we're in front of the AL East. And I was like, okay, yeah, we got some progress. And then these dudes decided to just bomb. God, I can't say I wasn't frustrated. I really was. I hate the Yankees so bad that I saw a toddler wearing a Yankees thing. No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that. I can't do that. That's promoting violence, and I don't do that. Um, I hate the Yankees, man. I'm sorry. I don't hate any other team. Rangers fans, yeah, there's a lot of y'all in Texas. It's Texas, but um, yeah, man. I don't like to see the Yankees leading the division. That's just frustrating to me. Um, but with a lot of the free agent moves, I'm not up to date. I'm going to educate myself. My apologies. It's just I wanted to lead off with that. Getting towards the end of spring training, as we wrap into the regular season of MLB, I am gonna want to get some hot takes on, some feedback. The Padres are gonna be interesting. Red Sox, they're always interesting because obviously they're one of the biggest franchises that spends the most money. Yankees, Dodgers, right? Angels, all of these teams, with big marquee teams or big marquee players. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where they go this year. Um, but yeah, that being said, I'm gonna end this one. It's been fun, man. I really I like the shooting from the hip stuff. I kind of went a little long winded for the NFL stuff, but you know what? I don't care. It's prevalent right now. Free agency, draft coming up, NBA nearing the end of the season. It's all fun stuff. It's all good stuff. But man, comment, like, share, subscribe. Give me feedback. I really, really, really want to hear anything you guys got to say. I really want to have some type of open discussion with anybody at some point. So by all means, bring it forward. Um, let's make this hot for real, for real. Any ways to make this better? Give me all the feedback. I'll take it. Anything constructive criticism, I'm good with it. If you just simply tell me you suck, I'm gonna tell you suck back. Um, yeah. So until next time, appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate y'all doing everything, and thanks a lot. We out.